Hari Om everyone. I'm Swami Abhishek Chaitanya speaking, and we have some of us definitely have met me here on the same platform on previous occasions. This evening, I would like to discuss about a very important aspect in Vedanta, and as the title suggests, the false choice of experience over knowledge. I have specially chosen this particular topic to discuss because very often we find people discussing and saying that experience is more valuable than knowledge. It is not that I want to say experience is not there, or it is not that I want to still continue holding a discussion or an argument, wanting to prove that knowledge is more valuable than experience. The topic of this discussion is focused around one very important thing, and that is there is no such bifurcation of knowledge and experience. Because a number of teachers, and even most of us who are not even teachers, but just by the virtue of being entities who are endowed with thinking ability, we very often conclude that experience is more valuable, more existential than knowledge. And people who are going to argue in on this side, they also quote an example. They say there are people who know things and there are people who have experienced those things. A person may know there is New York, but a person who has gone to New York and experienced New York. So then there is a division of knowledge and experience according to these people. And since there is this division, this particular bifurcation means you can make a choice whether you want to have knowledge or you want to have some experience. And of course, everybody is going to jump onto the boat of experience. This has created a major division in the human personality. And this division, this bifurcation, this split is quite dangerous. Because then after we are going to say we don't want knowledge, we all want experience. And then there are going to be even teachers who are going to take advantage and going to say, have experience, and we are the people who are going to give you experiences. Have those experiences. but we have never ever paused to ask what is the difference between experience and knowledge. And even if we have ever paused for a minute, it has never been a serious inquiry. Because someone is going to say knowledge means information and experience means that which involves you. And therefore there is a difference. Please know the first and foremost thing means you can have knowledge but you will not have experience. And therefore in life now you keep on hunting, searching, asking for experiences. Spiritual experiences, experience of God, experience of Brahman, experience of Samadhi. You are going to then go about hunting spree. And there is a major fault over here. The defect is that there is no experience devoid of knowledge, bereft of knowledge. In fact, it is just knowledge which you are calling as experience. There is, again, please understand, there is just knowledge, which one is saying is experience. And therefore, what is most crucial, what is basic, is knowledge. I'm going to use the same classical example. It is the most handy and the most effective example. The example of snake and rope. When a person sees that snake, the snake which is actually seen an error seen in case of the rope, where you should be experiencing and seeing the rope, you are seeing, experiencing the snake. And if experience was more valuable than knowledge, then your experience that it is a snake should be more valuable than the knowledge that it is a rope. Just because something can be called as an experience does not make it very valid, does not make it very valuable. So the first claim that these people have, that experience is more valuable than the knowledge, just collapses with this example. And that is why I often say, that this example, Rajju Sarpa, the superimposition of the rope, of the snake on the rope, the example of snake and rope is a very handy, very effective example. And it has got several aspects. It is able to give you, throw light on several aspects. And one of it is this, that if experience alone was going to count as most valuable and most important, then your experience that you are seeing the snake is also very, very valuable. Very important. But though it is your experience, yet it is totally invalid, totally unimportant. You will see this. One more thing which is to be understood over here is that suppose the person who is seeing the snake is told by a very reliable source, maybe his father or a teacher or a brother, that it is not a snake, it is a rope. The person may gather little courage and stand over there. He knows it is a rope, and yet that is not able to, that knowledge is not able to remove the fear, the dukkham, the suffering of seeing the snake. Then somebody is going to say, therefore the knowledge that it is a rope is not that very valuable as much as when he switches the light on and experiences the rope. Then the experience of the rope is something that takes away the fear. It is not the knowledge that it is rope that takes away the fear. This is the most silly argument, because when we are saying that in first case the person had the knowledge, and in the second case when he switched the lights on he had the experience, in both the cases it is the knowledge. In both the cases, in the first case he knew that it is a rope, and in the second case also he knows it is a rope. Then what is the difference between these two knowledges? The difference is only one, and that is the knowledge that he has had on the previous occasion when his father said it is a rope. That knowledge of the rope has not taken place through the appropriate means of knowing A and B. Even when he has that knowledge is fraught with doubts and contradictions. Whenever the knowledge is filled with doubts and contradiction, then that knowledge cannot be called as your experience. So actually it is nothing but knowledge. But whenever the knowledge is having doubts, samshaya and viparyaya sitting in it, it cannot remove the ignorance completely. It cannot mitigate the suffering completely. And therefore what is there, truly speaking, is knowledge alone. Because there cannot be any experience without the knowledge. Every experience can be said as your knowledge. When you are going to say that I know it is a rose, or I experience this is a rose, you can at the same time say that I know it is a rose. And therefore knowledge and experience are not two different terms. Knowledge and experience is one and the same. But when there is any samshaya viparyaya, whenever that knowledge is filled, fret with doubts and contradictions, you are going to say there is a gap between cup and the lips. Therefore, whenever the teacher in Vedanta says Atma is Brahman, the knowledge is already had. The teacher has said Tattvamasi, which means Atma is Brahman. Now you have the knowledge. Don't sit back and cry saying that I have knowledge, but I don't have experience. Because though you have this knowledge, that knowledge is fraught with doubts and contradictions. Resolve that. Resolve that. That is more important. And that is what is the true meaning of aparoksha jnanam. That is what is true meaning of even experiential knowledge. There is nothing like intellectual knowledge and experiential knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. Every knowledge is finally a buddhivritti. Every experience is finally a buddhivritti. And therefore there is nothing like knowledge which is not intellectual. There is nothing like knowledge. There is no experience which is not knowledge. Therefore, every experience is basically knowledge. It is knowledge, and that is why we are saying in Vedanta that knowledge has to be had. Nowhere the teacher is saying go and gather experience of Brahman. The teacher simply says go and have the knowledge of Brahman. Brahmavit is the word, or Brahmagyani, Brahmajnani, the knower of Brahman is the word. There is no word such as experiencer of Brahman. Because every experience in essence is knowledge. Therefore, what is to be sought is knowledge. Do not deceive yourself, let us not deceive ourselves of saying that we don't want knowledge, we want experience. If we ever say that, we will be chasing, hunting, asking, looking for experience of Brahman. And yet, nothing can be had. You can keep on asking, hunting for experience of God. But you cannot experience anything because you don't even know what is God. How would you even experience? Even if we accept your position that there is something like experience, when you do not know what is God, how are you going to experience God? And therefore, truly speaking, according to the tradition, according to the parampara, it is the parampara, it is the tradition of knowledge and not of transferring experiences. Shri Krishna is talking to Arjuna. He is not transferring any experiences. Shri Krishna is giving a long discourse on the battlefield because it is the tradition of knowledge. Otherwise, Shri Krishna can very easily say, come here Arjuna, I am going to give you experiences. Let me place my hand on your head and you will have an experience. Nowhere. If somebody is saying that Shri Krishna does something in the 11th chapter, some mystical, magical thing, it is not mystical, magical thing. And even if it was, why does he then after still continue to speak? Therefore, there is knowledge which has to be sought. Knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of knowing that this Atma is Purnam. That is all what one needs. And since this any form of knowledge is generated by employing the appropriate means of knowledge, like that the Veda or the Upanishad is the Pramanam. And once when this Pramanam, the Shabda Pramana, is acquired, it operates. And whenever the apparatus, the Pramana operates, knowledge is had. Mind you, still, whenever the knowledge is had, and if there are any contradictions or doubts sitting in that knowledge, then that knowledge you are going to say is not experience. And therefore it is not an experience which is to be sought. All that you need to do is remove the doubts and contradictions from that knowledge. Resolving these doubts and contradictions is what is called as manana and nididhyasanam. Mananam and nididhyasanam. Acquiring the Shabda Pramana is called as Shravana. Therefore, the totality of sadhana is just this much. The total import of moksha sadhanam is just this much. Shravana, manana, and nididhyasanam. If ever you are going to find somebody says that have experience and not knowledge, then that means that person is saying don't have knowledge. Means retain your ignorance, remain foolish. You can have experiences, but you may experience something but not knowing it will keep you still ignorant. When these people are talking about having experiences, and they are telling you to reject knowledge and choose experience, that means that person is simply in different words telling you that remain ignorant, remain foolish. Have experience, no knowledge. And therefore, if there is a choice to be made, the choice is not of experience over knowledge. It is only knowledge, knowing and knowing clearly, knowing it, knowing that self without any doubts is what is meant over here. Therefore, at the end of it, to conclude it all, let me please tell you that there is no other sadhanam over here. And the sadhanam, if when we are talking about moksha sadhanam, there is only one, and that is bodha, bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi. In various texts, in various places, Upanishad as well as Bhagwan Bhashyakara makes it very clear that other than Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, there is no further, no other moksha sadhanas. And those who have a claim of anything other than that, we pray for their well-being, and we pray for more wisdom to come to them sometime. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. If there is any question, I will like I may try to answer that at this point. Hari Om, Vibhaji.
Yes, Sunil Goyal would like to ask you a question. We'll unmute
Uh,
him.
please. Hello.
Yes.
I
Ah,
cannot hear him.
one second. I have not yet unmuted. Did you unmute?
Unmuted.
Yes.
Unmuted. Sunil
Hariom,
Goyalji.
Hariom Acharya ji.
Hari Om ji.
Hariom ji. You can hear me, sir? You can hear me,
Yeah,
sorry?
very much. Please.
Uh, Acharya ji, when the knowledge is sometimes passed on, like you hear from a third person, and when you see the knowledge yourself, like you're watching a cricket match, you heard from somebody, or you're right in the field, you're watching the match. The knowledge in both cases is the same. Now, would it be still be the same knowledge? Knowledge is
You're talking.
knowledge.
Knowledge is knowledge. But knowledge of which object? If you are going to say the object is an object which is directly perceived, which is an object of direct perception, pratyaksha vastu, then that object will be known through the pratyaksha pramana. You understand? The
Yes.
pratyaksha pramana. And in that case, if somebody is going to tell you that there is New York, then the object which is an object which can be perceived by the eyes, then you are only having the knowledge through the Shabda Pramana. It could be your friend, father, anyone. And therefore, the knowledge which has to be had through employing the appropriate means has to be had through that means. And therefore, when you are going to see a cricket match, it is something directly perceived. And if somebody is going to relate to you that this is what is happening on the match, on the field, then there is a difference, because the knowledge over here is not coming through the means that it should come through.
We
And
could call
therefore,
it. We could call it. One is aparoksha and one is paroksha.
that is exactly what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
In reality, there is no such thing like paroksha knowledge and aparoksha knowledge.
Okay.
This paroksha knowledge and aparoksha knowledge, even this bifurcation, this division, the acharyas, the teachers of the tradition have used, have brought, not to tell you that there is something like when Brahman is aparoksha, how can you have paroksha knowledge of that? Yes, sakshat aparokshat Brahman. That what is sakshat and aparoksha, how can it ever be known as paroksha? And paroksha means it can become a matter of your belief. When the object itself is aparoksha, how can it be known as paroksha? It is not possible. Therefore, whenever that knowledge is had, it is paroksha. What makes it paroksha is only the presence of obstacles. I will explain this thing with one more example. You can see certain objects through your eyes. So eyes are the instrument for you to have the knowledge of colors and forms. But you cannot know the objects when they are at extreme distance. Whenever something is at extreme distance, then the distance, the space has become an obstacle which prevents the eyes from operating and having the direct knowledge. So whenever there is going to be some obstacle in the operation of the pramana, that is what creates parokshata. That is what creates as if it is indirect. And over here, when Atma is aparoksha, and yet it appears something as for you to believe, then over here, what is the obstacle? On an inquiry, you will find the only obstacle is the obstacle of doubts, the obstacle of viparyaya, of insistence that I am the experiencer, I am the doer. When we meet the doubts through the process of mananam, and when one meets the viparyaya through the process of nididhyasanam, the doubts are resolved and the viparyaya is also mitigated. What remains is this aparoksha knowledge. And therefore it is that knowledge of Brahman as Atma is always aparoksha. There is nothing like parokshata. Parokshata is something that comes only because of an obstacle.
Very good. Understand, Charyaji. I had another query. When there is awareness without using the mind, you wake up early in the morning. As soon the split second you wake up, your thoughts have not entered your mind, but you know that you are there. That is awareness without using the mind. Could we call that awareness as the Satchit?
Who is using this awareness?
I am.
So you are using the awareness. That means that awareness is still some form of karana. It is some sort of apparatus. It is some sort of instrument which you are employing. Then can this something that can be employed be called as Atma?
Okay.
You see this.
I understand. Sir, like, they have organisms like bacteria. Now, bacteria also have a sense of self-preservation. That means they have a sense of self. So, they know how to survive. So now their sense of self, so that means they have a mind. Can we say that?
Yeah, sure, of course, why not? In whatever form it may be, in whatever level of operations, perhaps that mind is not capable of doing complex operations like the human mind, but yes, they can be said to have mind.
Okay,
Sure.
so it will be only an understanding. It can never be. You can never be it. You can never be.
Who says that? Who is saying you can never? We are saying you already are it. Where is the
But
question
that
of
is
you
knowledge.
becoming? Who is saying
Yes.
you can never be? You already are it, and what is not there is not knowing. The problem is not of not experiencing, the problem is the problem of not knowing. It is the problem of ignorance, it is not the problem of lack of experience.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. We have one more person, Vasudev Rao Shamsundar.
I don't know. I will see. I had mentioned that the experience is knowledge. Now,
Yes,
the Atman is beyond the knowledge and experience. Isn't it?
Atma,
But how?
Atma is beyond knowledge and experience. According to whom?
Uh,
According to whom?
that's what the Shastra says, right? The knowledge
That the
is beyond.
Can you bring me a Shastra which says that Atma is beyond this? Sarvatha avishayam. In
Because
fact,
knowledge,
I'm going to present you, I'm going to say, Drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi
Hmm.
manasa eva anudrashtavyam. These are the Shrutis, Pratyaksha Shrutis right in front of you. Drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. So those who are saying that Atma is beyond mind and therefore beyond transcending, you will have to transcend everything. What is the meaning over there? Even when the Shruti says so, it simply means that Atma, the self that I am the illuminator of the mind. I am the that the self is the illuminator of the mind as well as of the senses. By the virtue of being self-illuminous, it is not dependent on anything to be illumined. And yet, we require over there manasa eva anudrashtavyam, because the ignorance, it is only the avidya nivritti which is required, and that avidya nivritti will take place when there is a brahmakara vritti. If the brahmakara vritti does not take place, the ignorance cannot go away.
right?
If you do not know the rose which is in front of you, only when the buddhi vritti taking the shape of that rose rises in the mind, it is only then that the ignorance of that rose will go away. So also over here it is true that we require brahmakara vritti.
Right. But once the Gnani has he is a realized person. Once he realized person, and then there is no need for him for any knowledge at all, because Brahmakar, he himself is Brahman.
All right. Now
So,
you tell me
right,
that after he realizes that Atma is Brahman,
right.
now if we are going to say there is no need for him to have any more Brahmakara vritti, then rest of his life, what is he going to do? Vishaya Chintanam.
No, he's not going to be thinking of anything, but he himself is
Do you
a
think that it
Brahman.
means that that person remains totally blank?
He will be.
Do you think that he remains totally blank? Then
No,
how
you
does
won't.
Shri Krishna conduct all the vyavahara, the transaction? If Shri Krishna is not able to register this is Duryodhana and this is Arjuna, if Shri Krishna is not able to register this is Arjuna's problem, how is he able to address?
Well, that is only Vyavaharika. When he is in the world, he is still faces the situation. He
So when is he
acts.
not in the world? You tell me, when is he not in the world?
No, but he still his level of understanding in such a way that only while he is doing the transaction, he will come across with the worldly matters and then he transacts. But
Hmm.
in his understanding that he knows that he is beyond all these things.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying.
Right.
That's why it is understanding.
Oh, okay.
It has to be understanding. If one is going to say that it is not understanding,
Oh, okay.
then we are saying that it is understanding is not required, knowledge is not required.
Mhm.
If it is not the knowledge, then how will the ignorance ever go away?
Right.
You can keep on searching for experiences, and experiences could be had. But when experiences are erroneous experiences,
Right.
just as in case of rope and a snake, the experience of snake is also an experience, but it is an error. It is not knowledge.
Right.
What you require over there is knowledge that this is a rope.
Mhm.
So, so saying that it is experience and experience alone, which means that even erroneous experiences also can be glorified
Mhm.
as your realization.
But once he realizes he knows the knowledge of the rope, that means his ignorance of the rope is gone. So there is no need for any other knowledge of the rope at all.
Of course not.
Mhm.
So as long as the knowledge takes place and the
Mhm.
knowledge is free from the samshaya viparyaya,
Uh-huh.
you will
Right.
not require it.
Okay. Okay.
Knowledge takes place once. But I will tell you something very intimate over here at this moment, sir.
Uh-huh.
The very advanced books like Jivan Mukti Viveka,
Uh-huh.
Vidyaranya Swami very clearly says that yes, it is true that the knowledge is now had,
Uh-huh.
and yet he has to be very careful and still keep on the Brahmachintanam till the end.
Mhm.
Because if you are going to say, since he is realized, why does he require Brahmachintanam?
Mhm.
Then we will have to say, then what else will that mind do? Which has realized, what will that mind do? There are only two things.
Mhm.
Either that mind has to stay immersed in samadhi, or
Mhm.
otherwise there will be Vishaya Chintanam.
Mhm.
Then either that Jivan Mukta Purusha, such a person, will only give himself to the samadhi abhyasa, or he will give himself only to Brahmachintanam. And this is what is called as Jnana Nishtha.
Oh, okay. One more question, Swamiji.
Please.
The 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 experience, we cannot experience Brahman at all, right? When we say experience of Brahman, that means that Brahman becomes an object of
Yes.
experience. So where does this then the experience will not come at all then into picture when we get the knowledge of Brahman.
Mhm.
That means there is no need for any experience at all.
Because you are Brahman.
Oh, Brahman, okay, right,
When you are going to say, I am experiencing the rose, and therefore that rose is real.
right.
So you are calling that rose real only because it has become an object in the womb of your vritti,
Right.
in the womb of that particular experience. It is there. An object of the experience, an object of the awareness.
Right. Okay.
And what we are saying is, it is not the object, but it is the awareness itself which is Brahman.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Thank you very much, Swamiji.
Thank you very much. All right, Vibhaji, Hari Om. Oh, there's one more question again.
So Dayanand Gomiji is telling my pranams to Swamiji for Guru Purnima. And
Okay.
there was a hand raised by Manmohan Pejawarji. I'll just unmute him. If he still has the question, he can ask.
All right.
Hello.
Manmohan.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Swamiji. It was very interesting lecture. I did have a question, but much of it was answered in the last answer you gave. So I
Right.
unmuted myself. But I could go on just 1 second more on that issue.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Like
sir.
when you are doing this Brahmachintan, you know your Atman. That means if you have no doubts, then it should be a complete knowledge that you are existing in.
Mm.
Now, I have a two-part question. In
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mundaka Upanishad, I think the questioner, I think Narada, asks,
Mm.
if it is correct, Narada, or the questioner asks the teacher,
Mm.
what is it that once you know, there is nothing else to be known? And that also is one of the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, that is,
Mm.
you yourself are the Brahman, is the
Mm.
ultimate truth.
Mm.
I guess in that limited context, it's meant as nothing else to be known.
Mm.
But in a regular Brahmachintan or in existence in everyday life, now, if you're doing it correctly, you're always aware that everything you are doing in this Vyavaharik world is Nashwar. That means it is the
Mm.
Maya that we are in, and ultimately it will be going away.
Mm.
When you pass away, you merge with the divine. If you're
Mm.
so lucky to have the moksha, otherwise you will be reborn,
Mm.
depending on how much attachments you have for the Vishayas.
Mm.
So my question is, in your everyday existence, at every second of every day,
Mm.
if you
Mm.
lose that Brahmachintan thought, you will be in the Vyavaharik world. But
Mm.
key is to perform everything in this world that you need to do as long as you have your last breath,
Mm.
but knowing that everything is Maya. Is that the ultimate way you practice this? Is that what I'm saying is how do we live our lives by knowing that we are Brahman and we are acting in this Maya world?
Mm. Bhagavan Shri Krishna in Gita says that even those people who have Shraddha in this knowledge, Shraddha in this knowledge means you require Shraddha as long as the knowledge has not taken place. When the knowledge takes place, you don't require to believe. When you know something, it is known. That knowing does not mean that you are believing. And therefore, there is one part which is called as knowledge. And then there is another one when the knowledge has not taken place. you maintain the Shraddha in the Guru Vakya, in the Shastra Vakya. You do the Brahmachintanam, Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasanam as much as it is possible. It is not possible that all 24 hours you may be immersed in that. It is not. But as much as it is possible, one should do. And when you're talking about, asking me about how should one conduct oneself, conduct yourself in this world. Allow yourself into transaction to that level that the transaction does not become overbearing. That the transactional reality or the transactional world does not become a burden and become an hindrance to your spiritual practice. If one is able to maintain this much, or even one is able to come as close as possible to this ideal, then that will be an ideal spiritual life.
Yes. Thank you. I think it kind of makes sense that the more you know, the ultimately the closer you get to the realization, without any doubts, the simpler it is getting. The simpler it becomes. It is
Exactly.
when you start. It is so complicated. God, the
It,
concept of God and everything.
it is all just one thing, and it is only clarity of understanding.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is clarity of understanding.
Yes,
Yes.
Swamiji. I think that is very, very useful. I think it answered my question directly. And also, it is of great practical utility for me going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Last question by Mr. Sunil Goel.
Yes, Goelji.
Sorry, I think we have crossed the time, but I'll just take us 1 minute. In the Samadhi Abhyasa, also the apparatus of mind is used but not felt. So,
Not felt means what?
I mean, would that, no, I mean, because you're lost, you're absorbed, you don't know. It's like deep sleep. Samadhi, in Samadhi, there may be a, you know that you're not asleep in Samadhi, but
Then
your
what do you
mind
know?
is,
What do you know there then?
in Samadhi, you are basically thoughtless. I mean, the goal is to be thoughtless in
So what do you
Samadhi.
know? So what do you know over there?
You know that you are the consciousness and you are the one which is making everything happen.
Really?
I mean, that's what you should think.
If you're thinking, then thought is still present. And if the thought is present, then according to you, then it is not samadhi.
Right, correct. So
Now you
I'm a
see.
little confused there.
So maybe we will discuss this aspect of Jivan Mukti, and in the sessions which will follow, whenever we have another occasion to discuss it on this webinar. So we
Sure.
will discuss this aspect of Jivan Mukti. What is
Sure.
it that how does the Jivan Mukta A conduct himself in the world, and B, what is the state of his mind?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All-
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Thank
Hari
you
Om.
all.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Thank you, Vibhaji.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam,
And
Pranam, and Ranjanji. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It was very nice and it was very knowledgeable to to understand the difference. I've never thought about that in that way at all.
Right, sir. Right. So can we call it a day?
Pranam Swamiji. Hari
Pranam.
Om.
Pranam. Hari Om.
Carry on.